So we have picked RI 6.8, trace and evaluate the argument and specific claims in a text, distinguishing claims that are supported by reasons and evidence from claims that are not. So we're going to create a no-show chart that.
So we need to go through and circle all our verbs in our standard.
Okay. And what are those, Ms. Ryskowski?
Trace,
Trace,
evaluate,
evaluate.
and distinguishing.
Okay.
Teachers unpack the standard to break down the knowledge students need to show to demonstrate proficiency. This unlocks understanding for the grade level content and provides a point of reference to check the no-show chart against. This step is essential and should not be skipped.
And then we need to go through and find our nouns, and we're going to underline them in a different color.
Okay. Starting with
Argument?
Specific claims. Yeah, claims that are supported.
Reasons?
evidence.
And then claims that are not.
Yeah,
Mm,
claims
yeah.
that are not, we'll take that as the phrase. Yeah, there we
Okay.
go.
Great.
What if we go to a show
Okay.
and start with some shows and then ask ourselves, hey, what do kids need to know in order to do that? And that might take us back, maybe, I don't know how far we can try. So, trace and evaluate an argument,
Yes.
is there?
So for like trace, I think like I'm going through the different claims and or reasons to help me kind of see the pathway of how I arrive to an argument.
Ooh, which is different than evaluate,
Right.
yeah?
Right.
So we'd say trace the argument?
Would it
And
be
then-
trace the argument or would it be trace the specific claims?
Ooh, yeah.
I think
Trace the
identify a
specific claims.
claim.
Identify a claim.
I think identify a claim, and then it's kind of follow that claim.
And then trace the claim.
Teachers continue to unpack the standard to identify how students will demonstrate their knowledge, thinking through the
And trace
levels
it
of
back to the
rigor
argument?
to ensure that the complexity of the standard is met.
Trace it, yeah, trace the claim back to the argument.
Because then I feel like at some point we would be able to use that to help us identify if it was supported by reasons
Or
and
not.
evidence or not.
The argument? Yeah. And then we want, and then is it evaluate the argument, well, evaluate the argument,
Yeah.
yeah?
What are we evaluating the argument for?
Well, I think that's becomes distinguishing, right? So there's gonna be a how we evaluate the argument, but that's what we're asking them to do. But then the next piece of that is we're distinguishing, in order to evaluate, I think, we're distinguishing claims that are supported by reasons from claims that aren't. And,
So then I wonder, going back to the argument piece, it looks like from our show that arguments include claims.
So an
Reasons.
argument
includes, an argument includes,
a claim.
Evidence.
reasoning,
That persuades.
that persuades, yeah, why do we argue?
Why do we have an argument? Yeah. That persuades the reader or the audience.
Mhm.
Reader or audience.
Okay.
So we have argument.
then-
Oh, what about claims? Is that something that
They may need to know.
So from this, we can take some of this apart and
Persuade you
be
mean.
very specific with what persuade means, what a claim, evidence.
Great.
Are those things that you see that
Yeah,
are needs?
they would
in-
need to know what does it mean to persuade someone.
Okay, so an argument.
Well, I wonder if persuade goes, like in our unit plan, under our vocabulary, but I
To
don't
make it
know that
separate.
we necessarily need it here, cause it's not necessarily part of the standard.
That's true.
So if we think of the language of the standard, we would need probably
Claim.
claim. A claim is,
Teachers go back to the language of the standard to determine key vocabulary for the no section versus what would be needed for the critical component of vocabulary in a unit planner.
Yeah.
a question,
A
kind of,
question.
yeah.
Claim is a statement that answers a question.
And then what about evidence?
Evidence
Evidence
can be
is
found in a text, or it's a
proof.
Well, it's facts,
Yeah.
right?
Evidence is facts,
Like proof, facts,
data,
quotes, examples.
from the
Yeah.
text.
And really, the
Examples.
point of evidence
proof
is to really strengthen
data.
your claim or argument, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have the what, evidence is
Evidence, proof,
examples,
data,
proof, data.
Quotes, examples.
Mhm. Quotes,
Quotes.
facts.
So yeah, examples.
Yeah, from text.
From texts.
Mhm.
And I would say that strengthen.
Yeah, there's argument.
Mm-hmm. Well, should we go back to see kind of where we're at and what we might still need to add? So I see trace in the show.
Okay, so I'm gonna underline these specific words
Awesome.
that we are seeing. So trace, trace.
So what do I need to know?
Right.
What do they need to know in order to identify a claim or trace a claim? What do they need to, like, conceptually, what do they need in order to do that?
It's almost like they would need to know like why it's relevant to the argument.
Or, yeah, like what's the argument, what are you reading, and what is that, your lead or essential question?
Like, if I'm the kid, I need to identify the claim and then I need to trace it back to the argument, but how do I identify that claim? Like, what do I need to know about a claim in order to identify it? So I can then trace it back. Is that just, I need to know that it's the statement that answers a question? Cause we have that, but do I need to know more, or is that gonna do it?
Well, I wonder if it's go
Yeah.
back to the claim and or question, like when you're tracing it. So I wonder if the show is go back into the text.
Use
And
the text,
use the
Yeah.
text.
Use the text
or
evidence.
refer to the text?
Yeah, refer to the text to determine
The claim?
it,
But then if you have
No,
identified.
to
Oh,
de-
identify, yeah.
yeah,
Refer to the text
to determine if the claim answers the question
Ooh,
To determine if the claim.
and or evidence maybe.
claim, yeah. Text and-
Collaborative
answers the
and
question.
critical thinking helps to foster a deeper understanding of the standard's components.
Claims
Oh,
that
that
are
one's
supported by
tough.
reasons and evidence. So I understand it is that, oh, look at all these claims, they have reasons and evidence to support them. But then these claims over here have nothing to support them.
I
They're
couldn't
just
find
saying-
anything in the
Yes.
text.
Right.
Nothing
So
Yeah.
in the text.
I can't prove it with evidence, but it's a claim that I just can't prove because there is no evidence.
Yeah,
Mhm.
claims that are
Claim
not supported have
stays.
no evidence from the text.
Right.
Yes.
So
Okay,
the no would
so-
be like, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what would you say that again, claims
Claims that are not supported have no
Yeah, have no evidence from the text.
That's kind of what not supported means in that case, huh? Yeah.
Claims that are not supported by evidence in the text.
Great.
Great.
And then we have
Then we have claims that are not
Are
supported
not,
by evidence,
yeah.
yep.
And are not.
Supported,
Yeah.
we got the are not too.
Great.
Claims that are not supported by evidence in the text have, yeah. I just think the way we wrote it was a little weird.
Great.
I think we can move on to the vocabulary section then.